Hey there, welcome. If you're new here, my name is Maika. I'm a psychologist, and this channel is dedicated to assisting you in your self-leadership so that you can live the life you want to live. I'm sure you've probably experienced this awkward silence in conversations before when no one knows what to say next and you're just kind of sitting there staring at the wall. In this video, you will hear some things that you can do in these kind of situations to keep conversations going. In my childhood, I switched schools frequently, and I was the new girl a lot. And that gave me a lot of practice with awkward social situations with people that I didn't know. I've experienced similar situations as a trainer in personnel development, the first minutes before a training with people who don't know each other or who do know each other but don't know me, and wanting to start the training off on a positive note. These kind of situations can also happen with people that we do know, but we don't see them that often, like office parties or family gatherings. Sometimes we can find ourselves in situations in which we want to connect to someone, we want to start a conversation, keep a conversation going, but it's somehow challenging because we don't know them that well or we don't see them that often. So here are some things that you can do to maintain a conversation, even if it's challenging. Number one, asking for elaboration. Okay, so you're at this place in a conversation where it's stopped and you'd like it to continue. And asking for elaboration means going back in your mind to what has been said already and asking for elaboration on any one of those things. This strategy requires you to listen well. It won't work if we have no idea what the other person has shared. And when people share stories, experiences, there's always something that is open or can be elaborated upon. Some details, some backstory, some steps they may be left out in their description. And those are the things that you can ask for further elaboration on. And that way, you keep the conversation going and you don't have to open up a new topic at all. For example, you mentioned that you were in Boston. What brought you there? Or your plans for a year of work and travel sound fantastic. Are you planning to travel alone or with a friend? What do you find so fascinating about rock climbing? How did you get into playing the cello? How did your boss react when you told her or him that you wanted to switch projects? The two main questions to keep in mind here are how come and what was that like for you? And how come, by the way, is better than asking why. If you ask, why did you do this? It kind of sounds like you're asking for an explanation, like kind of a defense in a way. And if you ask, how come, it's more neutral. It's just, how come that happened? It's interesting. By focusing more in this way on what the other person is sharing and what they experienced and less on what you want to say next, you can get more material to continue to talk about. And asking these kind of questions really makes people feel appreciated, and you can show that you're honestly interested in what they're telling you. Number two, prepare. If you know that you're going to be talking to someone that you've talked with before, go back to your last conversation with that person and remember what you've talked about. Then you can single out something that you can ask about, something that may have changed and something which the other person may have an update to share about. Like, how's your health? How's it going with this project? How was your trip last summer? Things like that. Number three, go-to topics. There are some things that you can talk about with anyone, and it's helpful to know about these topics so that you can pull them out of your hat whenever you need to. Two of my favorite questions I like to ask if I'm really talking to someone I don't know that well at all. At the beginning, I like to ask, did you get here all right? How was your journey? And at the end, if the conversation is coming to a close, but I still want to connect a bit more, I like to ask something like, what do you have planned next? Also, there's something called the Ford technique. And this technique contains 4 things that you can talk about with anyone: family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. So that means questions about their family, about their job, about what they like to do for relaxation and hobbies, and what they're aspiring for, what their vision is, what are some goals they're striving forward, and their dreams. Number 4, don't talk too much. One thing that I see happening often when conversations die out or kind of lose themselves is when one person talks too much, especially if you share all kinds of details at once. It's likely that you'll drown the other person out or like flood them with too much information at once. And then their mind wanders off to something else. And then you stop talking and they're like, oh my God, I wasn't listening. What did the person say? And they don't know what to say. You don't know what to say. So make sure to keep an eye on your listener to see if they're signaling interest or if they seem to be drifting off, and dose your details and how much you're going to say at once according to those signals or missing signals of interest. Number 5, accepting pauses as natural. This is one of the most important thoughts when thinking about this topic of how to keep a conversation going. And that is that pauses and breaks in conversations are only as awkward as we interpret them to be. And if we interpret a pause in a conversation as something that is always awkward, it's likely that we'll get even more nervous, depending on how important the conversation is to us. And this excessive nervousness will not contribute to the quality of the conversation. It'll make it less likely that you'll be attentive to what the other person is saying and that you'll have an idea what to say next. So if you can be accepting of pauses and breaks and use them as a chance to just take a deep breath, relax, smile, be open and curious about what is happening next. Who knows? Maybe the other person is taking a break to think about how they want to formulate something that is really important that they want to share with you. In that way, pauses and breaks are not only natural, they can even be really beneficial and supportive in a good conversation. So when there is a break, when there's a pause, take a deep breath. Don't let it make you nervous by feeling it's necessarily awkward. Give this video a like if you liked it. And by the way, if you find yourself struggling a lot with nervousness in conversations, you might want to check out my video on how not to be too affected by what other people think of you. Remember to subscribe if you want to stay in contact, and I'll hope to see you next week. Take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.